Change is one of those things that sounds inspiring when we talk about it from a distance. It's easy to admire it in hindsight when we look at someone who has made it through. When we hear the success story, when we see the before and after photos, in those moments, change looks glamorous. It looks like progress, transformation, a bold leap into something better. But here's what we rarely talk about in the middle of change. It doesn't feel like any of that. In the middle, it feels messy, it feels uncertain, it feels uncomfortable. And that's exactly why so many of us resist it. Not because we don't want better, not because we don't want growth, but because change demands that we walk through a season of discomfort before we ever taste the reward. Growth has a price, and that price is the willingness to be uncomfortable. Think about the very first time you learned something difficult. Maybe it was riding a bike, speaking in front of a class, learning a new skill at work. In those moments, you weren't confident, you weren't graceful. You were awkward, clumsy, unsure of yourself. You probably made mistakes, maybe even failed outright. And yet, that was the process. You had to be bad at it before you could be good at it. That initial discomfort wasn't a sign you were doing something wrong. It was a sign you were doing something new. This is where so many of us misunderstand growth. We've been conditioned to think that discomfort means danger. That uncertainty means turn back. That if it feels awkward or hard, it must not be right for us. But that's not true. In fact, it's often the opposite. When you feel that discomfort, when you sense that resistance inside yourself, it's a signal that you're stretching beyond the limits you've known. It's proof that you're not repeating yesterday. The people we admire most, the innovators, the leaders, the creators, the ones who seem to live remarkable lives, are not fearless. They're not magically immune to discomfort. They feel it just as deeply as you and I do. The difference is they have learned to expect it. They don't run from discomfort. They lean into it because they understand that the temporary pain of change is the price for the life they want. There's a paradox here. Discomfort is both the thing we fear and the thing we need. Without it, nothing changes. Without it, we can't grow. If you've ever worked out after a long break, you know the feeling. That soreness in your muscles. That's the micro tears happening so the muscle can rebuild stronger. It's uncomfortable, sometimes painfully so. But it's the very thing that signals growth is happening. In the same way, emotional and mental growth often feels like strain, like stretching beyond what feels natural. The problem is our brains are wired for comfort. Comfort feels safe. Comfort feels predictable. And yet, comfort zones are not meant to be permanent residences. They are rest stops, not destinations. If we stay in them too long, they don't stay comfortable. They become cages. And that's where the hidden cost of avoiding discomfort shows up, the cost of staying stuck. The irony is staying stuck is uncomfortable too, just in a different way. It's the discomfort of frustration, the ache of unfulfilled potential, the quiet knowing of what if that follows you for years. It's the feeling of looking back and realizing the only thing that stood between you and a better life was your willingness to endure a temporary season of uncertainty. But here's the truth that will set you free. Discomfort is temporary, but regret lasts. Change is hard for a season, but stagnation hardens into a lifetime. The discomfort you feel when you choose to grow will pass, and it will leave you stronger. The discomfort you feel when you choose to stay stuck lingers and compounds over time. The challenge is that, in the moment, discomfort feels the same no matter where it comes from. The tension in your chest, the doubt in your mind, the knot in your stomach, they're all real. The difference lies in what that discomfort produces. The discomfort of change produces growth, resilience, new possibilities. The discomfort of staying stuck produces resentment, bitterness, and a sense of powerlessness. We have to get better at asking ourselves the right question in those moments, not how do I make this feeling go away? But which discomfort am I choosing? Because one way or another, discomfort is unavoidable. The only choice we truly have is between the discomfort that moves us forward and the discomfort that holds us back. That's why it's so important to normalize the messiness of change. We have to stop expecting it to feel good right away. We have to stop comparing our first steps to someone else's finish line. We have to remember that the uncertainty, the awkwardness, the self-doubt, they're not signs we're failing. They're signs we're right where we're supposed to be. If you want to grow, you will be uncomfortable. You will have moments when you doubt yourself. You will have days when you question whether it's worth it. But if you can hold on through those moments, if you can keep taking steps when every instinct tells you to turn back, you will come out the other side transformed. The most meaningful changes in life rarely happen in a straight line. They are made up of trial and error, progress and setbacks, moments of clarity followed by moments of confusion. That's the process. And the more you accept that discomfort is a part of it, the less power it has to stop you. So the next time you find yourself at the edge of change, when the temptation to retreat to safety feels overwhelming, pause and remember this: growth is never free. It will cost you time, energy, and above all, comfort. But it will also give you back more than you can imagine: confidence, fulfillment, a life that feels truly lived. Change is uncomfortable, but so is staying stuck. And if both are hard, choose the one that moves you forward. We tend to romanticize comfort. It's the place we retreat to when life feels uncertain. It's the warm blanket, the familiar routine, the place where nothing surprises us. Comfort whispers safety. It promises that nothing will hurt, nothing will fail, nothing will risk falling apart. But comfort doesn't tell us the whole truth. It never tells us about the hidden price tag. It doesn't warn us that the longer we stay there, the more we lose. Not in money, not in possessions, but in possibility. Staying where you are might feel safe in the moment, but safety can be deceptive. It's not the kind of safety that protects you. It's the kind that keeps you contained. It's the invisible fence that you stop noticing because you've walked to its edge so many times that you've stopped trying to go beyond it. Comfort convinces us that we're okay because nothing is actively wrong. But nothing wrong is not the same as something right. It's just the absence of challenge, and challenge is where growth happens. The cost of comfort is subtle. It doesn't hit you all at once. It creeps in slowly. You wake up one day and realize you haven't learned anything new in months. You notice you've been having the same conversations, doing the same things, seeing the same results. You start to feel restless, but you can't quite pinpoint why. That restlessness is the bill coming due. It's your mind and heart letting you know that you've been paying for comfort with the currency of your own potential. The most dangerous thing about comfort is that it's not painful enough to make you leave. If it hurt, you'd get out. But instead it numbs you, it dulls your sense of urgency. It makes you trade the possibility of greatness for the certainty of good enough. It's like sitting in lukewarm water. It's not unpleasant, but it will never refresh you, never energize you, never wake you up. We don't often think about it, but staying where you are is a choice. Every day you choose not to move towards something new is a day you choose to stay the same. And just like change has a cost, so does standing still. The cost of change is immediate. It's discomfort, uncertainty, the risk of failure. The cost of comfort is delayed. It's regret, missed opportunities, the slow erosion of your confidence. The tragedy is that most people only realize the cost of comfort when it's too late to go back and reclaim what they've lost. I've met people who have spent years in the same job they stopped loving long ago because it's stable. People who have stayed in relationships that no longer inspire them because they're familiar. People who have buried their own ambitions because pursuing them would mean stepping into something unknown. On the surface, they're fine, they're functioning. But when you talk to them long enough, you can feel the weight they carry. The weight of dreams deferred, of potential unused. That's the tax comfort collects. The truth is, comfort zones shrink over time. What feels spacious today can feel confining tomorrow. The longer you stay in one place, the more foreign the outside world feels. And the more foreign it feels, the less likely you are to venture out. That's how people get stuck. Not because they don't have the ability to change, but because they've forgotten how to move. It's important to understand that the cost of comfort isn't just about what you lose. It's about what you never gain. You never discover what you're truly capable of. You never learn the skills that only struggle can teach. You never develop the resilience that comes from navigating uncertainty. Comfort doesn't just protect you from failure, it also protects you from growth. Imagine two versions of yourself. One stays where they are, avoids discomfort, keeps life predictable. The other takes risks, faces setbacks, endures awkward beginnings, and grows stronger with each challenge. Now fast forward 10 years. The first version has the same life they have today, same skills, same experiences, same circle, same results. The second version has more confidence, more perspective, more capacity to handle whatever life throws at them. That gap between those two versions is the cost of comfort. But here's the part we don't talk about enough. Comfort can make you forget who you are. When you stop challenging yourself, you lose touch with the part of you that is capable of more. You start to believe the limits of your current situation are the limits of your potential. And once you believe that, you've built your own walls, and you won't even try to leave them. The only way to avoid paying the highest cost of comfort is to disrupt it before it calcifies. That doesn't mean you have to burn your life down and start over. It means you need to invite discomfort in small doses. Try something that scares you a little. Say yes to an opportunity you feel unprepared for. Learn a skill that forces you to think differently. Seek out people who challenge you. Each time you do, you stretch the edges of your comfort zone. And when you do that often enough, you realize that comfort isn't your destination. It's just your resting place between adventures. There's nothing wrong with taking a break, with catching your breath, with enjoying the fruits of what you've built. Comfort isn't the enemy. But when comfort becomes the goal, it quietly robs you of the very things that make life feel alive. It robs you of the excitement of the unknown, the pride that comes from overcoming fear, the satisfaction of looking back and knowing you did something hard. So the next time you find yourself hesitating to take a step forward because you don't want to leave the comfort of where you are, ask yourself, what is this comfort costing me? Not just today, but a year from now, 5 years from now, 10? Will the person I become thank me for staying here? Or will they wish I had been willing to pay the smaller price of discomfort in exchange for a greater life? Comfort can feel like a gift, but it can also be a slow thief. And every day, you get to decide whether you'll let it keep taking from you. The question is not whether you will pay. The question is, what will you get in return? One of the biggest lies we tell ourselves is, I'll do it when the time is right. We convince ourselves that there's some perfect moment waiting out there, when the stars align, when we feel ready, when the fear disappears. And so we wait. We wait for the promotion before starting the business. We wait for more confidence before speaking up. We wait for the economy to improve, for the kids to grow up, for life to somehow become less complicated. But here's the truth, that perfect moment. It doesn't exist. It's a myth we create to justify our hesitation. Life is not a calendar that will suddenly circle the day in red ink and say, no, you're ready. Readiness is not something that arrives from the outside. It's something you decide on the inside. If you think about every meaningful change you've made in your life, I can almost guarantee you didn't feel fully prepared for it. You probably stepped into it with a mixture of excitement and anxiety, with questions swirling in your head, with 100 reasons you could have talked yourself out of it. And yet, you moved. That's what made it possible. The problem with waiting for the right time is that waiting becomes a habit. The more you tell yourself you're not ready yet, the more you start to believe it's true. And the more you believe it, the harder it becomes to act. You don't just delay the change you want, you delay becoming the kind of person who can handle it. We think we're avoiding risk when we wait, but in reality, we're creating a different kind of risk, the risk of wasting our lives. We don't always see it that way because life doesn't punish us immediately for waiting. You can sit on a dream for a year and nothing bad will seem to happen. You still have your job, you still have your routine, you still have the illusion of safety. But what you don't see are the compounding effects of inaction. Each day you wait, you lose momentum. Each day you wait, your confidence shrinks a little. Each day you wait, you reinforce the idea that your dream is something that can live without you. The truth is, there will never be a time when the risks are gone, when you have all the answers, when you feel nothing but certainty. We imagine that ready means the absence of fear, but readiness is actually the willingness to act in spite of fear. The people who make big moves in life are not those who found the perfect moment. They're the ones who stopped looking for it. Think about it, life is always going to be inconvenient. There will always be bills to pay, responsibilities to handle, problems to solve. There will always be reasons to wait. But there's a hidden danger in thinking that tomorrow will be easier than today. Tomorrow will have its own challenges, different ones, maybe bigger ones. And if you can't move today when the conditions are less than perfect, what makes you think you'll suddenly move later when they're no better? We sometimes trick ourselves into thinking we're being smart by waiting, that we're gathering information, preparing ourselves, weighing our options. And yes, preparation is valuable, but there's a fine line between preparation and procrastination, and that line is often crossed without us noticing. The question isn't, have I thought this through? The question is, am I hiding behind preparation because I'm afraid to begin? The harsh truth is, every dream has an expiration date, not because the opportunity disappears, but because we do. Our energy changes, our circumstances change, our willingness to take risks changes. The window to act is rarely as wide as we think, and the longer we wait, the more the weight of inaction starts to suffocate us. I've spoken to people in their later years who carry more regret for what they didn't do than for anything they tried and failed. They'll tell you about the business they never started, the relationship they never pursued, the move they never made, and every single story has the same refrain, I thought I had more time. That's the great illusion. That time will wait for us. It won't. If you want to change your life, stop asking, is now the right time? Start asking, if not now, when? If your answer is later, be honest with yourself, what will truly be different later that isn't true right now? And if your answer is nothing, then the waiting is not about timing, it's about fear. And here's the paradox, the only way to feel ready is to begin. Action creates readiness, not the other way around. You build competence through doing. You build confidence through repetition. You build courage by facing fear, not by waiting for fear to leave. And every time you take a step, you shrink the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Life rewards movement. It rewards the person who starts before they feel ready. Because starting sends a signal, not just to the world, but to yourself, that you are capable of stepping into the unknown and figuring it out along the way. And once you prove that to yourself, the illusion of the right time loses its grip on you. I've seen people transform their lives by taking imperfect action. They didn't have the perfect plan. They didn't have guaranteed outcomes. They just had the willingness to step forward and adjust as they went. And because they moved, opportunities showed up that never would have appeared had they stayed still. That's the thing about action. It unlocks doors you can't even see from where you're standing now. So the next time you catch yourself waiting for the right time, stop and consider this. The right time isn't a date on the calendar. It's the moment you decide you've waited long enough. It's the moment you choose discomfort over regret. It's the moment you realize that nothing changes until you do. There is no perfect time. There is only now. And every day you hesitate, you are making a choice to stay in the life you have instead of creating the life you want. The clock is ticking whether you move or not. The question is, when you look back, will you be glad you started, or will you wish you had? When we think about change, we tend to imagine it as a single dramatic leap. The kind of moment where you quit your job in a blaze of courage, move across the country, start the business, or completely reinvent yourself overnight. And because we imagine it this way, it feels overwhelming. It feels too big, too risky, too much. So we tell ourselves we're not ready, not realizing that the very scale of the vision is what's holding us back. But here's the truth: the most transformative changes in life don't usually come from giant leaps. They come from small, consistent steps that build momentum over time. The leap is only possible because of the steps that came before it. Fear has this clever way of magnifying the distance between where you are and where you want to be. It makes the goal look like a mountain you can't possibly climb. And when you stand at the base of that mountain looking up, it's tempting to turn around and tell yourself it's too far, too high, too impossible. But here's the thing: you don't climb a mountain in one giant jump. You climb it one step at a time. And the first step doesn't need to get you to the top. It just needs to get you moving. The reason small steps are so powerful is because they shrink the fear that stops you. Fear feeds on the unknown. It gets louder when you stare at the entire journey at once. But when you focus only on the next step, the thing you can do today, right now, fear loses some of its power. You don't have to figure out the whole path before you start. You just have to figure out the next move. I remember talking to a friend who wanted to write a book. For years, she told herself she'd start when she had a solid outline, when she had the perfect writing space, when she had a big chunk of time. But the more she waited, the bigger the project seemed in her mind. One day, she decided to write just one page. That was it. No deadline for the whole book. No pressure to get it perfect. Just one page. The next day, she wrote another, then another, and over time, those small, manageable steps became a finished manuscript. She didn't conquer the fear by willing it away. She made it smaller by breaking the work into pieces she could actually handle. We underestimate how much power there is in incremental progress. Small steps create wins. Wins create confidence. And confidence creates momentum. It's not about taking a step so big that it changes your life overnight. It's about taking enough small steps that when you look back, you realize your life has changed completely. The beauty of small steps is that they are less threatening. They don't require you to abandon everything you know in one go. They don't demand that you have all the answers before you begin. They simply ask you to move forward in a way that feels doable today. And the more you move, the less intimidating the journey becomes. I've seen this principle work in every area of life. Someone who's been out of shape for years doesn't need to run a marathon on day one. They just need to walk around the block. Someone drowning in debt doesn't have to pay it all off in a month. They just need to make one small extra payment. Someone trying to change their career doesn't need to land their dream job overnight. They just need to take a course, send a message, schedule a meeting. Small steps also teach you something important about yourself: that you are capable of doing hard things in manageable ways. They prove to you that action is possible even when the whole picture feels impossible. And over time, these steps have a compounding effect, not just on your progress, but on your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who waits, and you start seeing yourself as someone who moves. The problem is we often dismiss small steps because they don't feel dramatic enough. We think, what difference will this tiny action make? But here's the secret: small actions, repeated consistently, create massive results. The seed you plant today may be invisible tomorrow, but give it time, and it will grow into something unrecognizable compared to where it started. And here's the other thing small steps do. They keep you engaged in the process long enough to see results. Big leaps can burn you out. They can overwhelm you to the point where you retreat back to your comfort zone. But small steps give you space to adjust, to learn, to build resilience without collapsing under the weight of too much change at once. If you want to change your life, stop obsessing over the finish line and start focusing on the next step. Ask yourself, what is one thing I can do today that moves me closer to where I want to be? Not everything, not the entire plan, just one thing, and then do it again tomorrow and the day after that. The magic is not in the size of the step. It's in the consistency of taking it. That's how fear gets smaller, how confidence gets bigger, how mountains get climbed. And one day, without even realizing it, You'll look up and realize you've crossed a distance you once thought was impossible. The truth is, there is no single moment when everything changes. Change is a collection of small moments when you decided to move forward instead of staying still. It's the accumulation of tiny acts of courage that, over time, transform your entire life. So, if the big leap feels too scary right now, don't let that stop you. Take the small step instead, because small steps don't just break big fears, they build big futures. Every one of us faces moments in life when we're standing at a crossroads. One path feels familiar, safe, and predictable. The other feels uncertain, uncomfortable, and full of unknowns. In those moments, our minds race with pros and cons, with what ifs and worst case scenarios. We analyze, overthink, and often paralyze ourselves into doing nothing at all. But what if the decision could be made simpler? What if, instead of trying to predict the future, we could ask ourselves a single question that cuts through all the noise? That question is this: in a year from now, will I be glad I acted today? It's a simple question, but it's a powerful one, because it forces you to step out of the moment and look ahead. It asks you to stop making decisions based on how you feel right now and start making them based on the person you want to become. Most of the time, the reason we hesitate isn't because we don't know what we want. It's because we're too focused on the discomfort of the present to see the potential of the future. Think about the last time you made a big change in your life. Maybe you took a new job, moved to a new city, ended a relationship, started a new habit. Chances are, it was uncomfortable at the time. You probably had doubts. You probably weren't sure you were making the right choice. But if it was the right move for your growth, then when you look back now, you're glad you did it. You're grateful you pushed through the fear, because the life you have today wouldn't exist without that decision. That's the beauty of this question. It shifts your focus from the short-term pain to the long-term gain. It helps you realize that discomfort is temporary, but the benefits of growth can last a lifetime. And it works in the other direction too. If you're tempted to avoid change because it's hard, ask yourself in a year, well, I wish I had started today? If the answer is yes, then the cost of waiting is too high. The truth is, most of us are better at imagining what could go wrong than imagining what could go right. We run worst-case scenarios through our heads until they feel inevitable. But this question forces you to imagine the best-case scenario, the version of yourself that exists on the other side of fear, and once you see that version clearly, it becomes much harder to justify staying where you are. I've spoken to countless people who tell me they wish they had started sooner on their career change, sooner on their health journey, sooner on that creative project. The common thread in every story is that they let the fear of starting outweigh the regret of waiting until the regret caught up to them. And when it did, they realized something painful: time is not generous with second chances. When you use this question to guide your choices, you begin to see that action is almost always the better path. Not because it guarantees success, nothing does, but because it guarantees growth. Even if you fail, even if the outcome isn't what you imagined, you will have learned, stretched, and proven to yourself that you can take risks. And that kind of growth always pays dividends in the long run. The beauty of acting now is that it compounds. Every step you take today is one less step you have to take tomorrow. Every bit of progress you make now is progress you'll be grateful for later. And just like compound interest, the earlier you start, the more it grows. Waiting might feel safe, but it robs you of the momentum that could be working in your favor. This question also works because it forces honesty. Sometimes the answer is no. You realize that what you're considering isn't worth your time or energy, and that's okay. The goal isn't to push you into saying yes to everything. It's to help you say yes to the things that truly matter. It filters out the distractions and highlights the decisions that will actually move your life forward. The next time you're hesitating, picture yourself 1 year from now. Imagine that future version of you looking back at today. What would they thank you for? What would they be frustrated you didn't do? What opportunities would they wish you had seized? The answers to those questions are often more revealing than any list of pros and cons could ever be. And here's the thing, you don't have to wait for a perfect plan to act. You just have to start. Because even the smallest step taken today puts you in a different place tomorrow. And once you're in motion, you create opportunities that don't exist when you're standing still. This question, will I be glad I acted today, is not about having certainty. It's about having the courage to move without it. There will always be fear. There will always be risk. There will always be reasons to wait. But there will also always be a future version of you waiting to see what you'll do with the moment in front of you right now. That version of you either gets to live in the reward of your courage or the weight of your hesitation. So when you find yourself stuck, overwhelmed by choice, drowning in overthinking, stop, take a breath, ask the question. And then if the answer points you toward action, take the step, however small. Because a year from now, you'll be living with the results of the decisions you make today. Make them count.